Good morning, everybody. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. He made this day especially for you and for me. Our lesson study today come to us from Exodus chapter 19, verses 1 through 8. And the title of the lesson is God's Promise to Make a Holy Nation. God's Promise to make a holy nation. God promised to make a holy nation. And remember, when we are talking about promises that you can depend on, that you can count on, this is a promise that God has made. And the point of our lesson is God's promise to set us apart, his people, was conditioned on obedience. One more time. God's promise to set his people was conditioned on obedience. God's promise to set apart his people was conditioned on obedience. So when he promised to make his nation holy, the thing that the people or we have to do is to make sure that we are obedient to what he has called us to do. And so it is so very important for us to keep in mind that we must be obedient to the will and the way of the Lord. And so it's important for us to keep that in mind as God's promise to make a holy nation. He promised that. And so it is very, very important for us to keep that in mind. The first outline, Exodus 19, 1 through 4. Listen to what it says. It says, in the third month, which the children of Israel had gone out forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai, and they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mount. And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thou shalt say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have what I did, you've seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Remember what God has done. We have a tendency to forget what God has done for us. We forget that. We forget what he has done and all of that. And look, he told them, remember, I brought you out of bondage and of Egypt. I have brought you, and I brought you out, and I've brought you to a place uh, where you can pitch your tent. I brought you to a camp where you can do these things. He called Moses up and told him to look. Moses went up to the mountain and he said, Thus shall thou say to the house of Jacob. What you gonna say to them? What you gonna say to the children of Israel? You remember what I did to the Egyptians. I they were plagued, and I drowned them in the Red Sea. Remember, and when you remember that, that look, it's important for you to be obedient to what the Lord has to say to us. He brought you out of the land of the wilderness. He brought you out of slavery. Remember what I have done for you. And see, we have a tendency to forget. We have amnesia. We forget what God has done for us. And so listen to some truths of this outline. What the Lord began, he continues, moving towards completion of his plan. What he begins, he continued and he moved towards. Secondly, the Lord delivers, protects, and draws his people unto himself. Remember what I done. I brought you out of the land of Egypt. I brought you to safe passage. Remember, and remember the goodness of God. Remember what he done. He fed you in the wilderness. He fed you manna from heaven. He even gave you some meat. Remember, and y'all do know we have a tendency to forget what he has done for us. The second outline, Exodus 19:5 and 6. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, keep my, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Remember the purpose for which God set us apart, set a people apart for himself. First thing he said that one, you are, that word peculiar, you're special to me. You're a special people above everyone. He wanted the people to be his people. And so, and look what he says. He says, if you will obey my voice, obedience, if you obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, you shall be a special people, peculiar treasure to me. And again, that goes back to sanctify. When you sanctify, you are set apart for God's use. And he said, treasure above all people, for all the earth is mine. Because everything belongs to him. Psalm 24 and 1 says, the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, and everything that dwell therein belong to him. And he said, if you obey me, you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. You're going to be special. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Remember the purpose. We are special people to the Lord. He has set us apart for his use. Don't take me. It says, if you will obey my voice and keep my covenant, ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above everything. You're going to be special. You're going to be my called out people. You're going to, if you obey and keep my covenant. And so it's important. Remember the purpose. Sometimes we have a tendency to forget our purpose. We forget who we are and whose we are. and because we think that we are our own. Remember, we have been bought with a price. We don't belong to ourselves. Jesus paid the price for us on Calvary. And so we got to remember we are a special people for him, a peculiar people, a special. And so it's so important. Here are some lasting truths. The Lord's people are his special treasure. We are special to him because we are special. Secondly, the Lord's people are to be holy, set aside to him for his purpose, sanctified, set apart for God's use. Thirdly, the Lord expects his people to respond in obedience and faithfulness in their service to him before all others. He wants us to obey and be faithful to him in whatever it is that we that before others. And fourthly, our obedience to God's purpose reflects our relationship with him, an indication of we are indeed his people. So it depends on our relationship. Well, what is your relationship to? Are you obeying what he tells us to do, or are you doing your own thing? Special people. Remember, and the third outline, Exodus 19:7 and 8. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord had commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord had spoken, we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. Remember the condition essential to God's covenant. Remember, see, we got to remember who we are and whose we are and what He has done for us. He called the people together and give them the word that God had gave them. And when he called them together, he said, all, and they answered and said, all that the Lord had spoken, we will do. They said they were going to be obedient. And Moses took them at their word. But oh, what happened later? Things happened. Things happen. Remember the condition essential to God's covenant. Remember what's essential. Remember that. And see, all this lesson studies that we need to remember what we promised and do what we say we're going to do. Here are some lasting truths. One, even the people of the Lord need to hear his word and be challenged by it. Two, we who believe are to confirm our commitment to obeying the word of the Lord. And three, the Lord knows the depths of our commitment to his word. Remember, God promised to set apart his people with what was conditioned on obedience. We must obey and do what God called us to do. And we got to be reminded, we got to remember what God has promised. We all know God promised that he would never leave us nor forsake us. And so, with that being in mind, he has promised that he will make us a holy nation to himself. Remember, God promised to set apart his people was conditioned on obedience. The next time May God richly bless you, my beloved.